Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you for part 3 of my Q&A, which has been running throughout the week. If you haven't watched part 1 or part 2 yet, they're down there in the video, so please do give them a watch. As I've said in both of those videos, I've tried to cut this up into kind of 3 parts this week, just to make it a little bit more watchable for you guys, rather than one really long video, which let's face it, you don't want to listen to me rattle on for an hour or so. So hopefully this is making it a little bit more watchable and keeping your attention a little bit better. Right, I'm not going to rattle on anymore. I'm going to get cracking into this. I've still got plenty of questions, even though we've gone through loads of them in the last 2 videos. And we're going to start with a question from Matt Ross, who says, is this the end of the road for Lacazette at Arsenal? For an Arsenal centre forward, he just hasn't scored enough goals despite all the good work he has done for the team. I do think we are getting towards the end of Lacazette at Arsenal. I have to say, it is very worrying, his form at the moment. Not just this season, but last season as well. You were kind of hoping Lacazette was going to be set for a decent season this season. And it hasn't quite happened. He started with 3 goals in 3 games. You thought, you never know, is he coming back to the sort of Lacazette we saw in 2018? But it's not really happened for him, and he's really worrying before the international break. He's missing big chances. His performance at Aston Villa was not one of a top level forward at all. 15 touches, I think it was, 9 passes in 65 minutes, 2 in the opposition half. He's not doing what he's in the team to do at the moment. He's not linking up the play. He's not scoring goals. He's missing big chances, and I'll be very surprised if he starts after the international break, because I'm just not sure how Mikel Arteta can justify Lacazette starting at the moment, because he's not doing what he should be, and he's not doing what he's in the side to do. I think he'll have 1 year left in his contract in the summer. I'm not saying he'll definitely go. He might see out that final year of his contract if Arsenal can't find a buyer, and if he wants to stay in England for that year. But I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal make a move for another central striker in the summer. So I do think we are probably coming towards the end of the road for Lacazette at Arsenal, but whether that be in January, whether it be in the summer, or it's just sort of more of a phased out thing and he goes at the end of his contract the following year, we'll have to wait and see. But I think Arsenal, the time is coming now that Arsenal need to spend a bit of money and get themselves another top level striker. Is Saliba able to play in the Premier League? Asks Kurakai Allen. Yes, he is. He's not been registered in the Europa League, but he is available to play in the Premier League. I'm not sure he's going to, though. I said in previous videos, I think he's probably going to head off to St Etienne on loan in January for the remainder of the season. I'm not sure we'll see him in the Premier League before that. So, but in answer to your question, yes, he is able to play. Maya says, what do you think? What do you think? Which player Arsenal should target in Aouar or Szoboszlai, and why? I think they should target both. To be honest, I love them both. I'm not sure I can really sort of separate the two. I've probably seen a little bit more of Aouar than I have of Szoboszlai, but from what I've seen of Szoboszlai, he's a very good player. A little bit bigger, perhaps, maybe a little bit more physical in terms of the Premier League. Younger, cheaper as well, probably about half the price. He's got a €25 million release clause. That's about £22 million. So maybe even less than half the price of Aouar. Lots of clubs are going to be looking at him. Arsenal are one of them. The agent's got on record saying there's been discussions with Arsenal about about the player's sort of availability. We know the release clause is there. It's just a case of someone triggering it. No one has done yet. I think someone certainly will. This in 2021, either in January or the summer, probably more likely in the summer. And Arsenal will be I'm sure will be in the running for him. They'll have to take a decision on whether they think they should hit that release clause or not. Aouar, we know they went for in last summer, didn't get a deal done. Lyon playing hardball, which is their right. Arsenal didn't offer anywhere near enough money. I can't see Aouar leaving in January. I think he'll go in the summer as well. Other clubs interested in him as well. I think the Real Madrid one's an interesting one for Aouar. Obviously a big fan of Zinedine Zidane, who's also said to be a big fan of him. It'll be interesting to see if Real come knocking, because they haven't signed anyone because of COVID this year, but I think they certainly will next year, and he may well be high up on the list of their targets. So in terms of who I think they should target, look, throw all the money, sign them both, but either one of them I'd be very happy with. But I do like the look of Szoboszlai, I've got to say, for such a young player, for his price as well. I think it's a very good price for a player who brings what he brings. His technique is fantastic. He scores goals, he creates goals, he runs with the ball. Exact sort of player that Arsenal need going forward, trying to change things going in their attack. So I'd probably maybe if you had to pin me down and drag a name out of me, I might say Szoboszlai, but look, either of them I'll be delighted with, I have to say. Sylvester25 says, is Partey's injury serious and how long will it take for him to be back? Well, he's not gone with Ghana. He stayed at Arsenal with that thigh injury sustained against Aston Villa. I spoke to someone I know close to the player, and he said that Partey was feeling pretty confident that it wasn't going to be too bad an injury. I couldn't get a time scale on exactly when he was going to be back, but he was hoping he would be back pretty soon. So fingers crossed, touch wood, it's not a big injury to Partey, because they certainly need him. As we saw against Aston Villa when he went off at half-time. They certainly missed him in that second half. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, he's pretty positive and he's not too worried that it's going to be a long-term thing. So fingers crossed with that one. Jam asks, how much is the lack of goals down to a creative midfielder versus the playing style is more defensive in nature, personnel versus tactics? I think it's possibly a bit of both. I think Arsenal scored a fair few goals last season, maybe not loads, but more than they are this season. They were playing the same system then. I just think it's also down to players being out of form. I think Lacazette, as I've touched on, is so horribly out of form at the moment. He's not scoring goals. He's not linking up play. He's not bringing others in. That's making Aubameyang totally isolated out on the left, because he's not getting... he's just not getting any sort of supply line. He's not having that link up with the central striker, which is what Lacazette's in the team to do. I think obviously Willian's playing really poorly. He hasn't scored a goal, hasn't set up a goal since the opening game of the season. I think that's the big difference for Arsenal. Everyone talks about the creative midfielder, and look, Arsenal do need some creative players in their team, but I think it's more down to just out of form players. I think when you got the strike force, which are all so out of form, which they are, that's why you're struggling for goals. I've said it before in another video. You sort of look at Liverpool; they don't really have that number 10 type player, but they still score a hell of a lot of goals because their strikers are very, very good and they're in form. You've got Mane and Salah on the out wide. You've got Jota when he's playing in central roles, scoring goals. Firmino, for his lack of goals, is still creating and still being that sort of link-up play, the sort of player that Lacazette isn't as a central role. So I think it comes down to more form than anything, than just a lack of creative players. Everyone always points to the lack of Mesut Ozil not being aside, but I'm not sure it's just specifically that. I don't think a number 10 immediately improves this team in terms of goals scored. I think because the strikers just aren't finishing, they're not scoring the goals at the moment. That's the big problem. I think you've got to bring Nicolas Pepe into the side for me. Willian's not doing it. He's not contributing. Pepe's already scored 3 goals in the few games he's played this season, or certainly fewer amount of minutes he's played this season. He's setting up goals as well. Yes, he may frustrate the hell out of you, but he makes things happen as well. So for me, you've got to be playing Pepe, you've got to be playing Aubameyang as a central striker, and then maybe bring Saka up on the left-hand side of the front three. I think if you do that, Arsenal are going to be much more dangerous going forward. They're going to score more goals. They're going to get better numbers. I just don't think you can persist with Lacazette and Willian at the moment when they're so blatantly out of form. And I think hopefully that Aston Villa game is going to prompt a little bit of a change from Mikel Arteta, because if it doesn't, then it is a little bit worrying, because I don't think you can justify Lacazette and Willian being in the side at the moment. What we got? Tommy T-Rex. Hi Charles, slightly away from on-pitch side of things, what is behind them bringing back Gunnersaurus? Is it just to distract us from a bad result on the pitch? No, they brought him back because he actually had a job to do for the first time in a long time. Look, Gunnersaurus has never gone away. Obviously, the whole way this story's been painted has annoyed me a little bit, because Gunnersaurus hasn't been made redundant. Gunnersaurus is always going to be here. It's not the case of the mascot being made redundant. It's a suit. It's the man who's been made redundant, Jerry Kay, and that's the sad thing. Everyone's sort of joking about it, saying, "Oh, Gunnersaurus is back. Arsenal brought him back. He never went away." The idea wasn't never that Gunnersaurus was being retired. It was the fact that the man who had played him up to that point, as part of a wider job that he did at a job, he has been made redundant. Gunnersaurus was always going to come back, but it's just the reason he's not being seen right now is because we're in the middle of a pandemic and there's nothing for him to do. He's not out there on the pitch before games or after games and playing with children, because he's not allowed to do that. And so the reason he's come back this week is because they were launching the new Junior Gunner membership pack. So he had a job to do. So they brought the suit out from the cupboard, and someone else has got into it to play the role for the picture things. And it's not Jerry. Arsenal have offered him a sort of part-time role to play Gunnersaurus amongst other people. There's basically going to be a rostered group of people now who are going to play Gunnersaurus at separate times, and Jerry has been offered the chance to be on that roster of people. He hasn't he hasn't decided one way or the other. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't confirmed to Arsenal whether he will be accepting that or not. But yeah, in answer to your question, Gunnersaurus has only been brought back because he's had there was a photo opportunity because of the Junior Gunners membership packs this week. He was never gone though. He was never retired. He was never made redundant. It was the man inside the suit who was made redundant, despite what all the stories and what everyone talks about on social media, which just annoyed me a little bit because there's a man in that, it's a really sad thing for the guy, for Jerry, who's lost his job. It's not about Gunnersaurus. It's not about the suit. It's about the man inside the suit. But what am I going to do? That's just the way social media and news works, really. George Hall says, a lot of pundits always trot out, we're always 1 or 2 world-class players away from getting back to the top 4. What's your take on this? Is recruitment, or are we simply a new time for the club right now? Look, Arsenal, they've never been that far off, but it's a case of recruiting well, and they haven't really done that in time. They've spent money and have spent it pretty badly for a long time now. Until this window. I think the money they've spent this window has been very, very good. Thomas Partey and Gabriel has improved them immeasurably, but they've still got a lot of work to do in terms of fixing things going forward, which we're seeing. They need a new central striker. They need at least 1, if not 2, creative midfielder stroke winger type forwards that we're seeing more and more of in football now. So I still think it's a cliche again, 1 or 2 players away. I think they probably are about that, 2 or 3 away from really challenging for the top 4, making yourself a sort of almost certain contender for the top 4. Because I do think defensively they've improved massively with the additions recently of Tierney, of Gabriel. I think Hector coming back has made a big difference. Midfield, I think Partey has made a huge difference as well. But they've got to sort things out going forward. Until they do that, it's going to continue to hold Arsenal back because they're not scoring enough goals. So yeah, I do think they're still, as much as I hate to say it, 1 or 2 players away. But I think they are. But I think they've certainly closed the gap this window with what they've done defensively and in midfield. But I think now they need to start they need to start putting their focus on improving things in an attacking sense. 14 AFC says, when will Emile Smith-Rowe be given a chance? I think I've covered that in a couple of the videos actually, but I'll just say it quickly again. He just needs to stay fit. 14 AFC, he needs to stay fit. Until he does that, he can't get a chance because he can't play. From what we understand, Mikel Arteta is a big admirer of Emile Smith-Rowe. He likes him. But every time he gets close to being fit again, every time he starts training again, he gets another injury and he misses out on Europa League games and Cup games, which are his chance to impress. So until he does stay fit for a large chunk of time, he's always going to struggle to make his mark. And that's a frustrating thing with Emile, because you look at his attributes, his qualities, they're exactly what Arsenal need. So he just needs to stay fit. Arteta's son says, I feel like people are too harsh on Arteta. Would love to hear your thoughts, Charles. I'm in the belief he deserves time and he's already changed our team leaps and bounds for the better. Look, I agree with you. I'm not going to sit here, and I said it at yesterday's video actually, that I'm not going to sit here and slag Arteta off just because of that defeat at Aston Villa. I think he's done excellent stuff in the year. He's improved Arsenal. He's made them much harder to beat, which I think has to be the priority when he arrived, because Arsenal were far too open, far too easy to beat. He's done that despite the last couple of disappointing home results, certainly the Aston Villa game, which was a bit of a one-off. I think we haven't seen that from Arteta's side yet, really. So I think he's improved things a lot in the space of a year, but I think he's now got a new challenge. He sort of settled things down in the first year. He's improved them. The trophy was an absolute unexpected bonus. Now he needs to make them better in an attacking sense, and that's what we've got to really see from Arsenal now over the course of the next 12 months. It's just more progress. They've seen it at the back. We've seen it certainly in midfield with the addition of Partey, but now they need to move up, take it on another gear, and improve things going forward. But I think Arteta's done a great job in the first year. I'm not going to sit here and have a go at him just because he's lost a couple of games before the international break. So yeah, I think people are being a little bit too harsh on him. I think he certainly deserves time, and he will get things right if he's given that, which I'm sure he will be. Mason says, with Arteta looking into changing tactics and formation over the international break, what would your starting 11 be? I would go 4-2-3-1. I have to say, you sort of look at that game against Sheffield United when Arsenal went that for the final half an hour. I thought they were great. It was the best they've played this season. For that half an hour, they scored twice, 2 really good goals from open play. And that would be my basically the formation I would go. I'd have a team of Leno, I'd have Bellerin right back, Gabriel and probably Louise at centre back, Tierney left back. I'd have Partey as a constant in the sort of 2, and then one of either Xhaka, El Neni or Ceballos in the 2. Probably at the moment El Neni, because I think that 2 does work pretty well. Partey and him. And then ahead of him, I'd probably go with Willian. I'd give Willian a go there to see if he's better there, if he can perform better there than he did on the right, has done on the right hand side recently. Or Willock as well, I think is a good option to play there. I'd have Saka on the left, Pepe on the right, and Aubameyang as the central striker. So that's my starting 11. Gilly says, what's really wrong with Lacazette? Totally different guy from last year. I can't really add too much to that, to what I've said in previous videos. I just think he's horribly out of form, and I have answered this in another one, so please do watch yesterday's one. And I just think he's coming towards the end of his road at the time at Arsenal, and they need to look into replacing him now, because I'm not sure he's going to get back to the sort of player that he was in 2018, unfortunately for Arsenal. Saucy Lacazette says, what does the future hold for Pepe at Arsenal? Well, hopefully big things. I think they've got to make a decision with him one way or the other. Do you stick with Pepe, be patient and try and turn him into that world-class player that we do think he can be? Or do you cut your losses, try and sell and bring in another player who might give you a little bit more on a consistency level? I hope it's the former, because I do think there's a really good player in there with Pepe. He's perhaps not the player we were expecting when Arsenal spent so much money on him. He's a little bit rawer than we all expected, but he does make things happen. He does score goals. He does create goals. And I think that now you want to hopefully give him a real sort of concerted push in the team and see what he can do. So hopefully the future is bright for Pepe at Arsenal. Jacob, who was your favourite Arsenal player in the last 10 years? Santi Cazorla, hands down for me. Fabulous player. Loved watching him, every minute watching him. Such a shame what happened with the injuries. Just my favourite player of the last 10 years, without a shadow of a doubt. Sacolino says, is the club up for sale? No, not as far as I'm aware. Stan Kroenke has no plans to sell Arsenal. Ray says, would a swap deal involving Ozil and Eriksen be possible? I doubt it. I'm not sure Arsenal would be looking at Eriksen now at his age anyway. And I can't see Arsenal went into having a swap deal for Ozil and Eriksen. I'd be very, very surprised in that one. Z says, Saka's best position. Think he's the one causing confusions. He makes good decisions but offers less creativity going forward as a winger or a midfielder. Think if we drop him and play Reece or Willian at left and Orba central and Pepe right, we'll be better. Interesting one. Yeah, Saka's position is an interesting one. What is he? Is he a left back? Is he a left wing back? Is he a left winger? I'm not sure he's a left back. I think he certainly doesn't see himself as a left back. I think if you're going to play a flat back 4-10, he certainly plays that position for Arsenal. I'd certainly play Saka at left wing at the moment. I'll give him a good go on the left-hand side, certainly before Martinelli comes back, and see what he can do. You look at his numbers since the start of last season, he's got 14 assists. No one's got more than that in the Arsenal shirt. Admittedly, a lot of those have been coming at left back, but I'd give him a good go on the left-hand side in a front three and playing with Aubameyang and Pepe for the next couple of months and see how he gets on. D says, are you expecting next summer to be a big one in terms of spending with so many big wages coming off the books? I think Arsenal will certainly have a decent summer next season, even more so if they get themselves in the Champions League, which is going to be very, very difficult. But if they did, I think they'll certainly have a good go next summer. The wages coming off is going to be a big, big help. Certainly losing Ozil, but you can lose Ozil, Mustafi, Socrates. There's more as well. I can't think off the top of my head who else it is, but certainly some players will be heading off in the summer, and that will be a big thing for Arsenal. And they'll certainly have plenty more money to wiggle room when it comes to their wages. I mean, when you look at Ozil, that's just 20 million on his own, and that's before you consider the likes of Socrates and Mustafi, who are both in triple figures in terms of how much they earn per week. So I do think they'll have a decent summer next summer, a decent go at it, even more so, like I said, if they get in the Champions League. And last question now from Ian Mills says, in your view, Charles, what would constitute a good season for Arsenal and what constitutes an unacceptable one? It's a boring one for me to say this. I know you're not going to be too thrilled, but I just want to see more progress this season. I know we all want them to challenge for the title. We all want them to get in the top four and get Champions League football. We all want to see them win a trophy. But for me, I just want to see more signs of progress. And I was really impressed with what Arteta did last season. I still think he's going to do really good things for Arsenal. I think it's going to be difficult for the top four. I was quite confident at the start of the season, but now I'm a little bit worried in terms of what I'm seeing from them as an attacking sense. I think unless they dramatically improve going forward, they're going to struggle to compete with the likes of Spurs and Chelsea for the top four, but just because of the sheer amount of goals those teams score. And unless Arsenal suddenly click into gear and find a way of playing and really brings the goals into the team, they're going to struggle. So I think probably top six you're looking at again. Top four would be would be great, be fantastic, but I think they've got to find some more goals if they're going to achieve that. I just want to see signs of progress. I want to see things that defensively in midfield they're improving, and then perhaps next summer they can have a real good go and bring in a couple of attacking players and transform things and then make themselves into an excellent team. I think they're a good team now, they're getting better, but I still think they're a couple of additions away from being an excellent team, and excellent teams are the teams that qualify for the top 4. But Europa League, I think they've got a good opportunity there, really have a good crack at the Europa League as well this season, and try and get themselves a title. And in terms of what's an unacceptable one, I think another finish like last season, sort of 8th place and no real progress. I think that's what you consider an unacceptable season, especially when you consider the money that they've spent bringing in Gabriel and Partey this summer. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's the end of this week's Q&A. I've done it into 3 parts, like I said, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I really appreciate the questions you've sent in, and I'll be back to do another one fairly soon. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, enjoy your weekend, and I'll speak to you soon.